All right, ready to dive into something totally different today. We're ditching the old school image of dusty textbooks and, those monotone lectures. We're tackling what it takes to be a history teacher, like now in the 21st century.
And I bet some of these skills are going to surprise you.
You think? Right, so you know how we're always talking about personalization? Like Netflix knowing what shows you want or Spotify making those creepy accurate playlists?
Yeah, totally. It's all about you now.
Right. So get this, teaching's heading that way too. At least that's what these RoleCatcher guides are hinting at. We've got 3 of them about being a high school history teacher, a career guide, then interview tips, plus some info about their platform.
It's true. And that personalized approach is a big deal in education. It's called, personalized learning, officially.
Fancy. So more than just learning everyone's name.
Oh, yeah. Way more. It's about recognizing that not every kid's brain works the same. Some, they're visual learners, pictures and stuff. Others, they got to be moving, doing things to get it. And then there's the in-betweeners, A good history teacher figures that out, customizes how they teach for each student.
Makes sense. I mean, these guides go into detail about how much history teachers do. It's not just teaching anymore.
Oh, no way. It's so much more than lecturing. This RoleCatcher guide, it really dives into that individualized approach.
So what? Give me an example.
Well, assessments.
Yeah.
It's not all about tests and quizzes anymore. Think simulations, where students, they get to role play historical figures or maybe even create podcasts to explore different perspectives on historical events.
Whoa, that's actually really cool. Talk about bringing history to life. But okay, all that individual attention, plus coming up with those engaging lessons, that's got to be a ton of work.
Oh, absolutely. The RoleCatcher guide doesn't try to hide that. It's a lot. You've got lesson planning, grading, tons of administrative stuff, and of course dealing with parents. A lot to juggle.
So demanding workload for sure. But RoleCatcher also mentions the upside. The rewards. Getting to share your passion for history, seeing those aha moments when students really connect with the past must be fulfilling.
Oh, definitely. And it ties into what we were talking about before, that whole emotional intelligence piece. History teachers, they're not just delivering facts. They're shaping how young people see the world, helping them develop empathy, understand different cultures and time periods. It's a big responsibility.
Yeah, no kidding. It's like you're a time traveler, right? But also a therapist, helping these kids unpack all that historical baggage.
Totally. And to do that well, you need a whole unique skill set. This is where RoleCatcher really blew my mind, honestly. They actually break it down by percentage, the key skills, and some of them you wouldn't guess.
Okay, now you have to tell me. Spill the tea. What beats out knowing, all the kings and queens in order?
Get this. Reading comprehension. It's tied for first at 68%, along with speaking and writing. Can you believe it?
Wow, okay, I did not see that coming. I mean, those are important everywhere, but for a history teacher specifically, how so?
Think about it. To make history actually interesting, to bring it alive, you got to absorb tons of info, but then you got to turn it into something these kids can get, something that sticks. It's storytelling as much as it is straight up facts.
So it's the how you teach, not just the what. That actually makes a lot of sense. Anything else on that list that surprised you?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Active listening. That's up there, too. Same percentage. And then critical thinking, social perceptiveness, even complex problem solving.
Hold on, that's a wild combo. It's like being a history teacher is kind of like being a detective, maybe.
In a way, absolutely. A good history teacher, they're all about getting those kids to question things, to analyze, to look at stuff from different angles, just like, a historian would. Plus, let's not forget about classroom management. That takes some serious conflict resolution skills, like you're negotiating peace treaties between teenagers.
That actually reminds me, the RoleCatcher guide had those sample interview questions. They weren't just testing if you know when the Civil War was. They really wanted to see how you think on your feet, how you'd handle tricky situations, adaptability.
Exactly. One question was, how do you bring current events into history lessons? So important.
Right. You got to connect the dots for them, make it relevant.
Exactly. Showing them that history. It's not just some old thing that happened a long time ago. Another question was, how do you measure student progress? How do you know they're actually getting it? They want to see if you've got that multifaceted approach that you get, that kids learn in different ways.
They're checking if you can adjust, come up with creative ways to assess. Basically, if you're a master teacher, not just someone who memorized the textbook. Like you were saying, it's about inspiring that love of learning. And, that brings us back to RoleCatcher itself.
It does. We've talked about their insights on the history teacher role,
Mm-hmm.
their platform. It's so much more than just career guides. Yeah.
Right. It's like this personalized career coach you carry around. They have
Mhm.
these skill guides, I think they call them, breaking down specific skills, explaining why they matter, and like even giving you tips on how to improve
Well,
them.
it's about giving you control of your career.
Right.
And speaking of control, their interview prep is amazing. They've got this huge database, like over 120,000 interview questions, they said, and it's tailored to different careers. So
No more Googling generic questions and hoping for the best. You're practicing with the real deal. That's got to be a game changer for people.
totally. And they even use AI to give you feedback on your answers. It's like having your own personal coach. And don't even get me started on their resume builder. Their AI analyzes your resume, tells you how to make it better, how to make you stand out to employers.
Okay, see, that's what I'm talking about. Taking the guesswork out. No more wondering if your resume's good enough.
Exactly. It's about finding the right job, not just any job. And RoleCatcher, they get that. They even help employers find the right candidates, too.
It's like a matchmaking service, but for your career. Even if you're not, like, desperately job hunting right now, just having a profile there could be huge.
Exactly. You got to be proactive, put yourself out there. And, all this talk about finding the right fit, exploring careers, it's got me thinking, what if we did that with other parts of our lives, too?
Ooh, what do you mean?
Like, what if we each had a personal curriculum? What are we passionate about? What do we want to get better at? What knowledge or skills do we want to really, cultivate?
I love that. You're designing your own education, even if it's not in a classroom.
Exactly. And who knows, you might discover a passion you never knew you had, or even a whole new career path.
It's like you never stop being a student, right? No matter what you do.
Totally. It's a lifelong thing.
Yeah.
And, it might even lead you to a whole new career. Who knows? That's the cool part. You never know where life's going to take you.
Speaking of surprises, we've uncovered some pretty interesting stuff today, huh? These RoleCatcher guides, they really got us thinking.
They really make you rethink what it means to be a history teacher, that's for sure. It's not just about the past. It's about giving these kids the tools to deal with the future, which, let's be honest, we could all use those skills, right? No matter what we do.
For real. Critical thinking, solving tough problems, being able to adapt to like anything. Those are essential. And not just for understanding history, but for, well, just navigating life in general.
Exactly. You got to be willing to learn new things, to change your mind when it makes sense. That's something we can all take away from this deep dive, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So to everyone listening, if you're feeling that little spark, that curiosity about history, about teaching, or even just about what skills matter most right now, go check out RoleCatcher. See what you think.
You might surprise yourself.
Yeah.
And hey, maybe you've got something to teach the world too. After all, we're all learning from each other, right?
Couldn't have said it better myself. And that's a wrap on another deep dive. Thanks for exploring with us.